What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to, the only show this week. Sorry we missed out last week. Joining us today is the homie from Spike Week, Rob. And, of course, co-host Hope, whatever. That's old news.
Yeah, it's fine.
Rob, how you doing today?
Wow. Thank you for that introduction. I like how many O's you added to my name. I need to start just Rob. I need to start doing that myself. What's going on, guys?
Man.
You guys excited to show some of these teams that you got together? It's always fun to go back and look at some of these first BBM teams, some of these other teams that we've drafted beforehand. I went back and started looking at some of my big board teams, and I was like, Jesus Christ. What were we doing? What were we doing drafting in February?
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's always fun. We're gonna do a little roster baiting tonight. And sorry, Davis.
It's just funny. I love that term.
But no, it's fun to look back. See some of these values we could have got early on. Some of our favorite teams. I thought we get the question in chat a good bit. Like, what's your favorite team you've drafted? And it's like, geez, man, I don't know. I've done like 600 teams, so I got to figure that out. But no, we've pulled 3 each. We're going to take a look at from different points of the off season and see, what we think about them, see what we like about each other's teams.
Very cool. I've shown my favorite team a few times.
I kind of wish I had a photographic memory.
If you guys want, I can pull it up as well.
Yeah.
At the end.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with Davis. We're gonna go with his teams here. Davis, take us through this one. A couple of your mainstays
This was one of the early ones. I think this is before bye weeks came out. Pretty sure bye weeks did not come out.
I hope you didn't take 3-week 11 bye quarterbacks.
I was like, yeah, screw it. This is when, this is early because obviously Carr's ADP wasn't 140. It's 140, 150 now. So it actually dropped a bit. Early draft, I have a whole stick on, if you're taking Richardson, especially when it was later, and you take Carr, like Carr's not a 2 quarterback build generally, especially if he's your first. So like him and Richardson just did not scream, hey, put these guys together and go for it. I think these are 3 QB builds kind of situation. I like year 2 guys too. Like Desmond Ridder, he's going to get clowned on, but he plays behind a top 5 line. You can see what people do when they're in their year 2, playing behind good lines, has 2 good weapons in Pitts and London, and a little bit of Holland's a veteran wide receiver. So I was okay with it. I was like, yeah, 3rd quarterback, let's go with it. You'll see him on a lot of my 3 QB teams. I had him or Howitz on. And then obviously the running backs are just the fun stuff, right? You got CMC, Derrick Henry back in round 3 days. Damian Harris, where we were all hyped on when he got signed to the Bills. 30 picks later, ADP, not so much. Lost a little bit of value on that. Devin Singletary and Gus, 2 guys that have moved up a little bit. I just, I like their situation. They're playing behind, as in my opinion, RB2 handcuffs for sure for these bottom 2 guys. Damian Harris is kind of a toss-up.
Yeah, I like Singletary this year.
Yeah, this team's about to get interesting. Your receivers, I think, is where you really crushed a lot of value, at least with the first 5. I mean, getting a Monrad pick 20, especially with his ADP then was 19. Keenan at 53 when he's going like 35 now, and then Tyler Lockett at 77. He's gonna be on a couple of mine too from early drafts. So I think your receivers here, you really crushed them, and then you did draft Michael Thomas, Robert Woods, but
and reached.
Did you see his slant route today?
I saw. He's still got the slants in the bag, I guess, against the safety.
All pro safety.
No,
go ahead, Rob.
Straight up, but yeah, these receivers are sick.
The receiving room is real nasty. That Amon-Ra, that pick 20, you just can't do it anymore. I'm actually starting to take Amon-Ra at the 103, the 104 some now, just to mix up my Amon-Ra teams a little bit because you can't get them with that group. So, do you remember what tournament this was in?
I think these are all BBMs.
These are all BBMs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a lot of fun. I mean, the quarterback situation sucks, but I mean...
Yeah, that's super unfortunate. You did get Richardson at 125, which you can still kind of get him there occasionally now. He'll fall a little bit if you get a room with some non-Badgers who aren't as hype on him, who think he's going to be a bust and all that.
Before we move a little bit forward, I just want to point out the funny joke of how smart we were back then about just stack these division games and they might be week 17 and it actually kind of panned out. Gary Judy, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, and Michael Thomas ended up being correlated week 17 games, and then Juwan Johnson obviously. It was coincidentally worked out in a way. So those at least actually panned out pretty well.
No, I think that makes a ton of sense. I think, you really crushed the receivers here with some values you absolutely can't get now. We're going to go on to your second one. You said this was the Underdog Cardio Club draft?
Yes, this was a UCC. This is like UCC 3. We had a guy kind of grief our draft too, and I was actually pretty pissed. This was when I was on a really bad streak of not getting 101s. I was like 4% 101s, and I finally got one. It was Justin Jefferson, obviously, into Nick Chubb, T. Higgins. Uncommon now, but pretty common back then to get the Chubb. But he fell, obviously.
I mean, Nick Chubb at 24. This is ADP now 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, he's going 9 to 8 to 11 usually now. So
yeah.
So crushed it in this one. Got a falling Pierce, which even in today's value is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's about where he goes now.
James Cook got a little bit of push up, so that was cool. And then the funny thing about this team was I didn't mean to correlate this, but I have a correlated Justin Jefferson for week 15, 16, and 17. So he has Bengals and 15. That was actually correlated. 15 and then 17 with the Dylan pick. But yeah, Jalen Reed. But then also they play the Lions in 16. So technically he's actually correlated all three way through. So that was just kind of silly.
Yeah, there's some really good running back values on this one.
Yeah, and that's what it ended up coming down to. I didn't really like James Cook at this time of the phase, but I was like, I got to get some of them, 8% at least. How guaranteed could I be on Harris? And kind of paid off so far.
Yeah. This team specifically shows why you need to be drafting early as well as late, though, because you're not going to get this team ever again. Like, you will not get this Nick Chubb, Justin Jefferson team ever again. No combination of Jefferson Chubb.
No.
So these are the things that, like, as I'm going through this year, I'm trying to figure out how do we make sure that we spot these. I've done pretty well this year in spotting trends that I thought for players that were going to move up. Like, I was real big on Chubb when he was second, third round, because I was like, there's no way in hell he stays in this spot. And I've hit on a few other players. You're not going to hit 100% of the time, but when you do, and you're grabbing a ton of Nick Chubb and getting these Justin Jefferson teams, everyone else was getting him at the time, but nobody's getting him now.
Yeah, it's a small window. BBM is still like 30% more to go. So 30% of teams minimally won't have this combo.
Right.
And then also just for the sake of it too, Nick Chubb, it moves up from round 2 to round 1. That's like the equivalent like moving like 60 later picks. That's like getting around 18, moves like around 10. It's huge. So
it's massive.
I thought it was really lucky.
And even Treylon Burks here, you lost value on him, but also DeAndre Hopkins wasn't on the Titans at this time. And so, and luckily he's healthy. So that was big for that one.
You need a lot of value in the middle 3 receivers, though. You got Lazard, Boyd, Reed. It kind of works out. I know people are out on Lazard still, and I think like based on camp, he's solidified as the 2, and I think he's actually a better pick than Boyd at this point, given that Boyd is the 3 to 4 option at the moment. So I think this will work out, even though Burks is probably going to be a dead pick for like 4 weeks straight.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 solid guys at the top. You hope London gets the same target share and volume on this team, but I like it. And let's do your last one. This is a more recent one, I believe.
Yes, this one's like I think like yesterday or a couple of days ago, like very, very recent.
You can tell
Herbert,
from the top performance picture.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Bijan, Connor, AJ Dillon, Deontay Foreman, Josh Kelly. These are like my little banger hits I always do with James Conner, Dillons, and sometimes Foreman. Nothing super crazy on this one, but I did like it just because it's recent. I did get a little bit of value on some guys. The wide receivers turned out well for me on this one. I got McLaurin on the comeback. Kind of sucks on the tight ends, but they still mixed up. So I got Hyatt, Darius Slayton, and then obviously Waller kind of hits. So I'm still playing my Derek Carr. I'm still playing that week 17. Mike Evans actually fell down over the few months now. So it's me one of those. This team is going to probably be fine in my current bracket. We'll see how it plays out in the future.
How are you playing Jerry Jeudy? Just out of curiosity, this is one of the questions I find interesting is the Broncos wide receivers.
Oh my God, I forgot. That is actually part of the reason why I want to show this. So this was within a week. So it's a week about draft. This is when I started saying, hey man, I really don't like round 3. I'm just going to start reaching on guys at round 4, and this might work out for me. So I was purposely dodging like Ramondre, DK, Brees, Amari Cooper, those kind of guys, and just started reaching a little bit for Jerry. Like, it's 7 picks, not the end of the world. I just really didn't like that round 3. And then I was actually, this is why I selected this team. Everybody remember. So I selected it because of that. And I think like having that idea of like, if sometimes you don't have to, it's like scroll down a little bit. It's okay. It might even work out. And sure, even if Judy doesn't like pop off, I do think a lot of people who have Ramondre Brees right now, like would wish they didn't get him at 28, or 31 or 32. So that's actually why I partial this team. It's like I've been reaching for Judy. I've been reaching for a lot of these round 4 receivers in round 3 just to get them. And because if you're not comfortable with something, don't force yourself into an ADP runs.
That's a lesson I learned. That's a lesson I learned 2 years ago. It was I've talked about this a few times, but the year that Cup was in the 5th round to start with Woods.
The Cup Woods.
Yeah. And
I'm going to get mine pulled up real quick.
So that was my lesson from that year was I didn't like the guys that were in the 3rd and 4th round. I loved every receiver in the 5th round. At the end of the year, I was kicking myself for not getting more combinations of those wide receivers. So I learned that lesson 2 years ago, and I try to implement it a lot more. I've been doing it around the time that you're saying with the wide receivers. Judy, not as much because I'm in on Judy, but not like in love with them. But I've been doing it with like McLaurin more, couple other guys in that spot.
Oh yeah, and that's the reason. Someone said like, "Hey man, I want Keenan Allen because I want to get more Allen mixtures. Hey, I want to grab more Drake London, or even now if you're just like super gung ho on DJ Moore." But there's a lot of dudes in round 4 that aren't far away from Metcalf. Really, like, can we sit there and say that every round 4 guy is just worse than Metcalf at value right now? And the answer, or Amari Cooper, it's just probably not. When Calvin Ridley was down there, maybe, but it's just a toss up at this point. So. Now all the running backs just didn't hit, especially when we had uncertain news on like Brees Hall, Ramondre, and so on.
No, I totally agree. I like doing the reach stuff. All right, let's get in my first one here. This was May 13th, and I was able to find these teams using 2 of the 3 using the Spike Week tool. Shout out Spike Week for that. I was searched for shout out Spike Week. I searched for ADP value. So third round Tony Pollard feels great right now. I feel like he's headed for the 1-2 turn, if not the back of the 1st round. Pig 98, Alexander Madison. Regardless of what you think of him, I think that's outstanding to get him there when you got 40 picks of ADP value on a guy. Jalen Warren, I really hit it with the running backs here. Jalen Warren at 146, now going like 130, he's pushing the 120s, and then Tank at 170. I think he's up to 120 as well. So. Really, really feel so strong about these running backs on this team. So that's kind of where it started.
Even Gus is like 30 picks up too. So like, if Dobbins sat out, you'd be really swimming in like just all the value. It's good.
And so I have the Cincy double, no Burrow. Don't mind as much. I really think Richardson in a week 17 against the awful Raiders defense can hopefully match him. And I don't always need both, especially because I got the Seattle double with JSN and Lockett at 71 and 74, which is just super, super strong now. And the Mims at 194 on this one. Just really crushed ADP value. And then even Sam Laporta down here at 191 on this team. This team was like, it was shockingly enough when I sorted this by ADP value, this was my number 1 by far. So really feel like I just really crushed some values on this one, some rising players. I really wish Johnny Woods was Jake Ferguson right now. And I'd feel awesome about this team, but I had to stack up Richardson with something.
No, the stack.
I didn't have to, but I guess that was my thought.
I think I probably 99% of the time would have made the same thought process there and done Woods over Ferguson. But I think that's one of the players that we need to put in our head that it's like, do I really need to stack him up? Because we're looking for rushing production from him. Let's be real. That's what we want from him. So I get it, though. I totally would have done the same thing. But this team's sick. You should just sell it to me now.
Yeah, I really, really love this one. Shockingly enough. And this one is going to be a similar mold. It was number 2 in ADP value. So, Purdy at 213 is a super big value now. He's still a late-ish pick. Love at 172. Carr goes about where he goes here. But this one I feel really good about. Again, Khalil Herbert's at 124. I feel like he's fast tracking his way to top 100 pick after that Bears preseason game when he played.
In my last 3 drafts, I've seen him at pick 90.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him because I wasn't super light. I think like 5-6% on him. But I don't know. How do you feel about Khalil Herbert? Are you taking anything away from that preseason game? Him playing all the snaps? You know, are you?
Me particularly, I
Yes,
love
Rob.
Khalil Herbert already. He's like 16 to 18% exposure for me on every site because I was banking on him. To me, it all added up that he was going to get this backfield. He was going to at least get the crack to have the backfield, the majority of it, right? He's never going to get the full thing. It's the modern NFL. But they were going to give Herbert the chance to lose it more than anything. And I think they're going to give him at least a decent leash on this. And I'm kind of sad that he's starting to move up so much, to be perfectly honest.
Me too.
He was like a comfort food player, whereas like I just always know he's in that specific spot. I can always grab Khalil Herbert, and now I cannot do that anymore.
He was guaranteed like what, at least 50 to 60% of like the workload, right? Like, you know, like you might lose goal line because like Foreman's kind of like the plotter, but like, yeah, I think the value at 120, and Herbert's one of those guys I kind of wish I would have grabbed more. Yeah. But I'm always like, it just sucked that, you know, at the time we were just high on Harris, and he was right next to him. And it's like, oh, I'll just grab Harris.
Damian Harris, yeah.
You know, if you're around earlier, you'd be like, well, I'll just get like Dylan and B-Rob. Like, it feels bad now looking back on it. It's like, because you know he'll at least getting 60%, even if it wasn't some red zone. But you can sit there and argue and say, well, he'll probably get 5 touchdowns. Like worst case scenario, right? Like he gets 5.
Yeah. And it's super anecdotal, but I've loved Khalil Herbert the last couple of years. Whenever David Montgomery's missed, it feels like every time you've locked him into 25 DK points in cash. But similar here, another Tyler Lockett at pick 76 in the receiver room. Not as much value here. I guess at the time Pittman was. And so he's still about where he goes. But then again, another Laporta at 196 as a two tight end build with it.
You got Thomas, you got Gus, you got Single, you got Connor. Like this is like.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Did we draft this one together?
If Davis has you held somewhere, blink twice and I'll send help.
No, you know, I'm with Davis a little bit on Connor being an advance rate guy. He's not going to, you know, I don't think he's going to be the guy you need in week 15 or 17 against the 49ers and then the Eagles. But I do think he can help you advance your team with a lot of dump downs and stuff. So, yeah.
I'm worried about the Cardinals overall is my problem.
I am too.
The Cardinals are pretty bad. I'm not sitting there like pumping any Cardinal besides just Connor, who, you know, if he survives 12 to 13 games, it's just decent value there. Yeah. I just laugh because it's like you see Carr Thomas on this roster, and then you see some of these running backs. I mean, like
we might have drafted this one together. I don't know. We might have, but yeah. Then again, Laporta at 196, Lockett,
Laporta, man,
Warren and Herbert, all values on this one. And then my last one is kind of a meme one. It's recent. I tweeted this team out to Josh and Hayden. I wasn't intentionally doing this going into the draft, but if you guys watch any of the Underdog content, you know who their guys are this year. And this team just about has like 15 out of 18 of them with Daniel Jones, who they're super high on, Tony Pollard, Dameon Pierce, and Miles Sanders. You know, Josh loved those guys. And so, and I like them too. I think follow the money with Sanders. Got a round to fall on him. You know, I usually wouldn't take him and Pierce, but I'll take that ADP. It might be a little overspend at running back on this team, probably. I think so. Could have ended at 4.
Might have been expensive at that point.
Yeah, the B-Rob pick was probably overkill on this. And then again, Kupp, Ridley, Mike, all Josh and Hayden guys. And then Laporta, Ferguson, Knox. I don't know. It feels like a really strong team. More so threw it on there as a meme. I think I drafted this one 3 or 4 days ago. So
I actually like the Robinson pick on this team.
I mean, you had all the week 7 buys too.
It allows you to have 5 RBs.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I mean, do you think you need Ford though if you have Pollard, Damian, Sanders, and Robinson? Like, I don't know. My thing is like at that point, I think you could have got rid of Ford. It's just that's how I see it.
And replace what though is the question, because I think she kind of crushed the other positions. I mean, I guess theoretically you could say she could add a wide receiver, but at pick 174, which receiver is she adding that adds a ton of value to this team?
Yeah, maybe a giant would be the only thing. I didn't want Devonta Parker. I wanted Slayton. But he went 4 picks here.
Maybe even 4 tight end. like it gets weird. I have a 4 tight end build recently with a 4 RB team. Like we like Laporta, but like Laporta's still a rookie tight end, and her other two are another bottom two guys at this point.
Yeah,
So.
I'm pretty high on Ferguson though. I think this is a really solid tight end room.
I think so too. I can't get behind 4 tight ends on Underdog. I've been trying to. I'm sort of getting behind it on drafters a little bit more, but on Underdog, it's
tough in 18 rounds.
It's tough with 18 rounds. You have to really smash, and some of the tight ends have been getting moved up, to your point, like with Ferguson and Musgrave and stuff. So even if you want to do that 4 tight ends, it's almost like you got to reach another round to start getting, valuable tight ends there.
Yeah, this one feels really solid, really balanced team at each position. So, I like it.
That first one though was
first Steve was very cool.
All right, I'll show you this one real quick just to see how you guys feel about it. It's going to show 2 teams, but we are going to be talking about the team on the left that I drafted on July 1st. And I did a double elite quarterback build with this one. So we have Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow. Mixon, Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, Khalil Herbert, Kenneth Gainwell, Leonard Fournette. We reached on A.J. Brown, grabbed him at the 103 to flip our exposure with him a little bit. Have T. Higgins. So we basically double stacked the quarterbacks with running backs and A.J. Brown, T. Higgins. Then we have Kadarius Toney, Gabe Davis, Rashad Bateman, MVS, Alec Pierce, Irv Smith, Sam Laporta, and Cade Otton, excuse me. So that is one of my favorite teams to show off. I do these double elite quarterback builds here and there just to mix them up a little bit. So the only 2 things I did different on this team is basically pull up AJ Brown, double elite QB, and I still think I got value at every other position, and I feel like I'm strong pretty much everywhere. So
I like it. No, you go first, Davis.
I think it's good because a lot of the RBs looking back now actually hit, right? Like Joe Mixon moved up. Charbonnet looks great. Kenneth Walker's coming off his injury prone at this point. Khalil Herbert's moving up. Gainwell's moving up. B-Rob's moving. Like, I think if you had the wrong picks, though, like this looks bad, right? Like say you took Rashad Penny, you take Gibson, you took who's another guy that's kind of like just trending downwards. Like, I think it looks bad in that case, but the thing is you hit everybody. Everyone hits, right? Like it looks really good. And that's, or maybe instead of Joe Mixon, you had like Aaron Jones or something, right? Like guys that people are down on, but you didn't. You had everyone and it works out. It looks good.
Yeah, I think the part is like knowing which type of players to draft for the build you're doing. So like when presented with this team, if Robinson and Gibson are going next to each other, because I'm already sort of weak at running back, I'm gonna go with Robinson just because projected weekly points for him. I think Gibson has a higher game like ceiling for individual games, but I think Brian Robinson's gonna outscore him this year, and usable weeks is what I was kind of looking for here for this team.
I think that makes a ton of sense. When you do the double elite, you really need those usable weeks because you're either missing out on your 2nd or 5th round pick every week. So I like that.
It's a tightrope act for sure, and you're gonna miss sometimes, but that particular one came out real nice.
All right. Now we are going to hop into a puppy. Hold on, sorry,
let's answer Steven's question really quick. So he asked, "Are we maxed yet on BBM?" Rob, are you maxed?
I have like 23 or 24 more entries I got to do, something like that.
Are you gonna max?
Yeah, I'm maxing BBM. I recently decided to max the drafters $20. So I have 150 of those to do within a month and a half or something like that. So that's going to be a lot of fun, but I'll be maxing those 2 tournaments. What about you guys?
Makes sense after your big win in Vegas. You gotta do that.
Yeah, I gotta max them, right?
You got me, and I would. I'm at 125 on BBM, so I got 25 left. I think I might slow play the last couple weeks here and save 10 or so for that last 2-3 days with every ounce of information. Whether that's worth it or not, I don't know. This could have been the optimal time, but it's my first year maxing BBM, so I kind of want to see what all my teams look at, like doing it that way. Let me pull up UD.
I'm at 141. I got like 9 left.
Ooh.
I will max out, obviously, at this point. We'll see. I'm probably not gonna do any other contests though. For a max out, BBM's gonna be my last one. Drafters was really tempting though. I really like the Drafters crew, and they put out a good product. It's just tough. It's tough to get instantaneous drafts.
Yeah.
All right.
It's getting better though.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can hop in this together. It's gonna be tough. All right, I'm hitting it now.
Oh, it starts
Let's
2.
get more.
Oh my god.
That's us. Look at us.
Let's go. Look at
All
us.
right, we're gonna try to win this thing on one bullet. This is gonna be my only puppy.
Oh my god.
With 3.
I got into 2 rooms. All right, let's do this. I was the 12th guy when I joined.
Nice. I remember, I had to do that one night. I ended up doing 2 at the same time and then put one on auto. I'm sure I tilted some people with some of my picks.
Yeah, now you're just with everybody else, like the other casuals. I was in a draft where someone grabbed Howell 100 picks early.
Oh my god! The first stream ever that I get this.
You got the 101?
The 102, baby.
I'm in the 104. Oh man, look at us. 101, 102, 104.
Am I 101? Oh, cool. That's a good balance. I'll take it.
Let's go down here. Puppy 3, which I don't even
Davis,
know if it's
if
worth.
you take Jamar Chase, I will find you and I will strangle you.
Yeah, I think you don't have to threaten me with a good time, man. I'm telling you. Like, my god.
Oh,
Actually,
man.
I might show my BBMs because I've only done 6 puppy 3s. Let's do it. Let's do it this way.
Yeah, I usually just have my BBM up for all my other
my
stuff.
19% Cooper Cup. Hopefully, feel pretty good about that. I've been taking him 103 most of the off season, so the hamstring stuff's got me a little nervous. The Rams team, but I really think if he's fully healthy, he's the 103 this year, in my opinion.
Ooh, Cup?
Yeah.
Definitely can see that for sure. I like Cup. I've been taking him at the 103, but I have been, like I said, I've been mixing that 103, that 104 spot around to just certain guys. There's certain guys that haven't moved on the draft board, right? And you just can't flip some of their exposures unless the other guys around them move or you move them. So very rarely I'm like moving Amon-Ra up, AJ Brown up. I've done it like maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's fun to get the different combinations with those players.
This is just funny. We actually get all the receivers. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid that you were going to get stuck with like CMC or something on that turn.
No, I would have taken one of the receivers anyway. But I do think in BBM the last 25, I'm probably done drafting Cup. We'll see. I mean, I'll still have 15%, I think, if I don't take another one.
I've been pushing a little bit more CMC. I've even been kind of grabbing like Bijan at 6, 5. Just we're at this part right now where like wide receiver value kind of falls a little bit, and then like running back values just can be there or they cannot. And when they're not there, your team is like just utterly dead. I was in a draft where like all the running backs got sucked up like 2 to 3 rounds early, and I was staring at Deontay Foreman at 120, and I was crying to myself like, oh my god, this is gonna suck,
Hope, are you worried about if you stop taking Cup teams with the massive shift in ADP on certain players, you're going to miss out on a few combos, or you just don't care at this point because you're so exposed to them?
Yeah, I've luckily been able to get him. I have tons of 106 Cup, and even a 108. The day he was injured, I think I got 2 106, a 107, and a 108. And then since then, I've got a couple more 106s. So I think I have a good spattering. I don't know. It'll depend on, if he falls. I mean, if I keep getting him at 6, I'm just going to click him. Yeah. It's really just Tyreek and CMC that I'm probably going to start taking a little bit more of over him. But yeah, I could see that. I mean, some of the players that are, I don't know, combos is huge. And that's why I do like, I don't just mean just to like keep plugging just because you're on with us. But like seeing my combos in the first 3 rounds is my favorite thing of any tool has. And like I love that. And so I do start reaching a little bit. I'm not going to reach 2 rounds to get a combo I don't have, but 5-6 picks, to get someone paired with Cup. That's definitely stuff I look at.
That is like my favorite part of the tool. That is what I use all the time. I just to get combos, like you said, of players. I had Amon-Ra today, and you guys know my Mahomes exposure, and I had no Amon-Ra Mahomes, which feels impossible.
Yes.
With the exposure that I have. So
Yeah, especially because you can grab him on the turn too.
What is your Mahomes at now? It's like, are you like
it's dipped a bit. It's at 28% now,
28%? Okay.
which is
That's a
sad.
lot.
Got to fix that.
I like it.
It's got to get back up to the 30s.
I like it. How much Mahomes, Kelsey?
Barely any.
Barely any. Are you and Davis? I know Davis is sitting on 0% Kelsey in BBM.
I don't have 0%, but it's very limited. I'm playing it a very specific way with the wide receivers for the most part, just because I think the opportunity cost for Travis Kelce in the first round is huge. And then taking the 2 onesie positions in the first and second round is like,
yeah,
it's massively crushing your other stuff. So
I found when I do Mahomes Kelsey, it's pretty much an auto 0 RB team. Have you felt that, or do you try and mix that up? Because I don't know, I feel like you're just so far behind a receiver, and on Underdog specifically when you do that, because of how pushed up the receivers are, that I think probably all my Mahomes Kelce's are 0 RB teams.
I think most of mine probably are, unless I found some value dropping. I can't say for sure, but because I'm always doing some sort of either hero or 0 RB team for the most part.
Yeah.
I do think at one point though, I did try to do a situation where I took 2 early running backs just to sorry, give me a second here to figure out what I want to do.
Look at Davis, the week 17, bro. Going Jettas and Christian
17
Watson.
and 15. Okay.
And 15, man.
Let's grab Debo.
I just really don't like round 3 when there's certain guys aren't there. Like I'm not grabbing JT. I mean I respect Andrews and whatnot, but like after that, like the quarterbacks are fine too. It's just I just cannot.
Jameer Gibbs.
Gibbs is probably what I could have grabbed for the 16 correlation.
No, I'm just mad I didn't get more. I was kind of on the he's small and like fade. Not fade. I've got like 6% Gibbs, but I feel like I missed out there. I don't know how much more in BBM I'm gonna get because of losing out on that closing line value.
I mean, you got to think about like this. Like, did he really lose value though? Like, sorry, did he really gain value? Right? It was guys that got pushed down. So if you're in certain parts of the draft, you can still grab Gibbs and almost make the same exact combos people did earlier. Yeah. He only kind of moved up. He didn't.
Yeah, because Brees and Ramondre dipping past him. That makes sense.
So like, I feel like he can still make teams with him about like feeling like you lost out. You know, like you can still get Pollard teams with him probably, things like that. I don't know. I guess the round 3 was just so goofy this year, and sometimes people still reach for them. Like now, like DJ Moore's pushing up to 40 and 38, right? Like,
yeah.
So it does. I feel like we're not really behind on the curve. If you wanted to catch Gibbs, you could.
Fair enough.
Gibbs is a fade for me on Underdog. I think I have 2%, but I'm hitting him heavy on DraftKings and Drafters.
That's smart. I had the fade on like. Yeah, I mean, just in that split with Montgomery. I mean, we saw it last year. I mean, I think Montgomery's so much better than Jamal Williams. I think he's gonna have a huge role in this offense. And it's super anecdotal, but I am, University of Alabama grad, so I watch all their games. And like we would pull him on the goal line. Like in college, he was getting pulled for our big guy, this guy, Roy Dell Williams, who's 6'2", 230. We'd put him in on
Roy Dell Williams in.
We'd put him on the goal line instead of Jameer Gibbs. So like I just have this thing I watched all season long, and I know Hayden's had the stats on it. He had like 4 or 5 rushes inside the 10-yard line all last year in college. It's like if your college offense is pulling you at the goal line on a half PPR site. But I also like he's such a fun player. I don't want to like have this fade on him, but
I mean, he could just be way better like ETN, right? Like, and ETN's already kind of that boom bust player. So like if he's just better ETN, then he will pay value, especially when you does well in week 17. That's all the value you need him to do. But I mean, I didn't draft a ton of them, but there's not a, like I said, if I hate round 3 and I wanted to grab round 4 guy, I think like Gibbs was actually a pretty good pick, I think, to an extent. Not a guy I would grab, but mostly drafters or in DK, I would definitely have grabbed him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think he's going to be fun year 1 for sure. I think he's going to be fun but frustrating.
Yeah,
and that's why I like getting him on full PPR sites. I just think his pass game work is going to be where he makes all the money for us. And like you said, it's a half point PPR site here. So that doesn't help quite as much. So for now, I've been fading him. But with the shift of the ADP stuff going on, I actually might just keep fading him because I think I'm going to be hammering a decent amount of Ramondre now and a decent amount of Breece Hall.
I think I've done 3 BBMs since the Zeke and Dalvin Cook stuff, which we should hit on because we did stream Tuesday. So we haven't actually talked about that and our thoughts on it. But I've taken Ramondre at 44 twice now. Like, I'm just the rest of the way going to be taking him. So I have actually held off. And I mean, I love Ramondre. And I've been kind of holding off in BBM because waiting to see who they signed and if it was Dalvin. Because I do think that makes a difference. I know some people have been pretty dismissive of Dalvin. But I think that makes a difference there.
There was a 0% chance the Patriots were signing Dalvin Cook.
8.6 million.
Yeah, there was 0% that he was coming here on a deal that he wanted.
No chance.
He wants a boots on the ground take, just knowing the way this team operates for the most part. But Zeke did make sense. Yeah. I drafted a lot of Ramondre early, and then I kind of laid off the gas pedal doing what you're doing. The guy that I wasn't drafting at all was Breece Hall. Yeah. Because I thought they were going to bring somebody else in, and that's another one that, like, thank God I got right. Trust me, trust me, I get plenty wrong, but luckily the Breece Hall thing, as I vomit and he goes right before me here, I got that one right at least. We're gonna play the hits and we're gonna draft Terry McLaurin.
I love Terry.
Cool.
Yeah, I think some people are having some take lock with this Breece stuff. Dalvin Cook is not Zeke, and I think some people are treating it like they just brought in Zeke. And I know his efficiency starting to decline. He's a 28-year-old running back, shoulder surgery. Like, I get all the concerns, but he is not a Zeke Fournette level player yet. And the Aaron Rodgers part of it is what really gets to me. He takes the big pay cut or the restructure or whatever to get him in there. And you know how these players are. He's going to be like, oh, I battled him in the NFC North for years. Like, I want that guy beside me. And, like, I think that's a real thing. And I know some people make fun of that and everything like that. But I'm actually worried about Dalvin Cook for Breece.
But Rodgers will banish you to the shadow realm if he doesn't like you.
Which could happen to Breece, though.
I mean,
could happen to either of them.
Yeah.
Think about the last 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks that we've had, right? Like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Even to some extent, you could argue with Big Ben. But those guys, like, they have a lot of weight in their room. Like, I remember Sean Moreno. They drafted Monty Ball. They were like, Monty Ball is going to be this guy, and like Peyton's like, no, it's going to be no Sean Moreno. And then Sean Moreno has like a 1,500-yard season, and then same thing for Brady. He was all like, it's not going to be Ronald Jones and stuff. It's going to be Leonard Fournette, and like Leonard Fournette just goes off. Like, quarterbacks have a lot. When you're a Hall of Fame quarterback, you can make whatever demand you want. I mean, as much as we hate to admit it, it's just the truth of the matter. So I think that narrative is way scarier than people want to admit.
Yeah.
It's just like,
we've literally seen it. Randall Cobb has how many extra contracts and years on his career as Aaron Rodgers added? And he did it again. Even Alan Lazard, who's not that great of a receiver, is going to be playing every snap because Rodgers trusts him to be where, he thinks he's going to be. So we just see it with him. And again, I believe in Breece's talent. Like, this isn't anything on Breece. I really think he's awesome and the potential he showed, but the money they gave Dalvin, and like, I sometimes think we let fantasy cloud our brains a little bit too in these situations.
I think that's a big problem with all of us as people that do like analysis on whatever platform you do it on. I think people get take locked into fantasy and they forget to think like a football team sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
Dalvin Cook is a great signing for the New York Jets football team this year. They have now one awesome running back in Breece Hall and another really solid back. And like, I don't know. I think, sorry, I jumped on you a little bit there, but yeah.
No, you're good. It makes sense because they are in win now mode. Aaron Rodgers didn't come there to build a team.
Right.
He came there to win the championship this year, right? So Breece Hall is great, but he is coming off ACL surgery. We got to remember that. And if he wants to win now, usually takes 2 running backs. It's usually a committee situation. They do have Garrett Wilson. They need to load up now. He's restructuring his deal to get guys in there that can win now. And Brees still might be the number one guy. If we're getting 65% workload on Brees Hall,
Yeah.
wheels up. Like it is going to be an incredible season still for him. He doesn't have to do the Josh Jacobs 90% usage to absolutely crush at his value, right?
No.
So I just think people get a little too nervous about dumb shit sometimes.
We could even look further back to like crummier versions of this. Think about like Melvin Gordon when he was making $8 million a year with Javonte Williams, right? Like that was a crummy team, by the way. That was a crummy Broncos team, but you had two running backs that were technically like usable in fantasy, especially in best ball. So now you have a good version of that in Brees and Dalvin Cook. Like this actually, like it could just be like both guys get 70 yards and one gets a touchdown and just flip flops, right? And that's like not bad. I think the only thing you're worried about is that you lose Brees's opportunity to get 2 touchdown games, right? Like that's the only thing I guess you would be afraid of. But I mean, does it stop it from
Even
getting
then,
like 80?
I mean, I'm not worried about like, oh no, he can't get 2 touchdown games now because, I mean, Brees is the type of guy who can take one to the house from anywhere on the field.
Right.
Pre-ACL tear though, like gotta admit, let's pre-ACL tear.
He's a 22-year-old. Like I'm not freaking out over his ACL. Am I gonna get sniped on Trevor here? What are you gonna do, Steve-O? Stevie-O?
We're all just waiting, Steve.
I'm gonna take one of these 2 players. What's it gonna be? All right, we get Trevor.
He took the guy I wanted. Sad day.
And also, I don't know if this is just me. I've heard some people too comment on the money Dalvin got as far as it being like, can you believe they gave him this much? Like, it's a 1-year deal. Like, can you really sign a bad 1-year deal on a player? Like, I don't think so, personally. Like, unless they come in and like ruin the locker room and that type of thing. But like, if you've got it in the cap, like, I don't know. I don't think you could sign a bad 1-year deal. Like, I've just seen some like, why are they spending this much on a running back? Like, it's a 1-year deal.
I mean, there's nothing else in free agency. Like everyone always talks about, oh, they should have gone and get this guy. Like, someone's joking. Like, what if they're not available? Like, what if that's like the actual thing? They're just not available. I think you're fine. Gotta grab the homie here, and then because I don't want to grab Sanders right now.
I had to see it in person.
Yeah. Oh wait.
So you draft a pile of dust.
Oh yeah, we gotta play it with Rob here. Once he makes his pick, we'll pop up our bit.
You have a bit for it, and everything's just a cloud of dust.
Davis drafts another old.
I don't know. I just like them older.
Beautiful. Just to put a period on this Brees point, you brought up like a worse version, but you can bring up the actual version, which was Aaron Rodgers with Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones, where Aaron Jones never got more than 65% of the Jones Dillon or Jones Williams, right? Because it was Jamal Williams first. And Aaron Jones never got more than 65% of the workload, and he still freaking crushed every year. So like it can be that situation. I just think, again, these are edges for us, like looking for these edges. The Dalvin Cook thing with Alexander Madison earlier in the year. We've talked about this ad nauseum. We all knew Dalvin Cook was leaving Minnesota, but it didn't move Madison up the board until the day that they actually released him. So this is also why we draft early, right? These are our edges, and we got to just be cognizant of them every single year and make sure that we can get our exposure to these players while we can.
That's a huge thing. And we did a little show or segment on that where like lessons learned. And like, I'm with you. Yeah. The Madison one is the one that stood out to me. Like I looked back at my BBM specifically. I had 2 Madison shares. The one I showed today at 98 and like another one at 110. That was it. That was it for me. And I knew it too. It wasn't an ignorance thing. Like I knew Dalvin was going to be gone. I would think I was locked into Damian Harris there. I've loved Damian Harris all off season, chase him up the board. Brian Robinson there's a guy I like a lot. So I don't know, for some reason I just wasn't making the Madison click when I knew. Yeah. So those are the huge edges.
I mean, another thing I always like to look at too, because everyone always talks about CLV and it's always comes down to how bad do you feel after the situation? I always use in my drafts, like, oh, if I don't grab this guy, will I feel bad if I don't get him? And the answer is usually like yes or no. And I always think with the CLV too, it's like, will I feel bad that I didn't get Madison at 100? And the answer was like, yeah, I probably will feel bad. Or, well, I feel bad if I didn't get Mixon at 70 and 80 and everything clears up. And the answer is like, yes, I will. Alvin Kamara, I didn't feel bad either way. I was like, oh, whatever, it's Alvin Kamara. But like Mixon, I remember going like, man, I'm gonna feel terrible. Like if this guy just clears and everyone got him at round 8 and 9, and I'm feeling like an idiot. I could have gotten him at least round 7, you know. So you always have to ask yourself that too. Like, will I feel bad later?
This is the question I ask myself every time I see James Conner on the board, and I'm always like, I'm actually going to feel great if I don't draft James Conner. I'm going to feel better about myself, so that's why I have to leave him on the board. But I learned that from you, Davis.
Oh, I see how it is. I think everyone said the same thing about my Metcalf picks last year when they were picking up Pittman, and I was like, go ahead, grab all the Pittman in the world.
Not this guy. I was not grabbing Pittman last year or this year. I think that Indianapolis team is going to be a disaster.
They were a disaster the last 2 years, 3 years. I have no idea why people thought that was going to change. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Shane Steichen, bro.
No, I remember I was sending it to somebody. I was like, they were like, yeah, but you know, it's Matt Ryan. I was like, yeah, because you know the Falcons were all like, man, Matt Ryan, you're too good. I hope you go do well somewhere else too. Like, no, that was not the case. He was like bad.
Well, nobody talks about how Kyle Shanahan has just propped up all these quarterbacks, right? Including Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, all these guys. Like that's what I'm expecting. Yeah, Purdy is the next one where he's just propping him up, and we'll see how long that prop up happens for. But the Colts, God, and I'm very like mostly against rookie quarterbacks. Just historically, they do not do well.
Yeah.
So Richardson's a little different because of the rushing upside, but I'm still not clicking on Richardson too often. Like I'm looking at my exposure right now; it's 3%.
Fair.
So, gotta be careful with that. Hope always laughs at me when I bring that up. I'm always like, I just don't like rookie quarterbacks, and she just gives me like the biz every single time.
I'm not on all rookie quarterbacks. I have 0% Bryce Young and like 3% CJ Stroud, but I think Richardson's a little different.
Like, but yeah, you always give me crap though when I'm like, I just straight up don't want them. You're like, oh, but why? Maybe I'm like, no, like nothing on those teams are good. I do think the Panthers just sound better, but everyone's like just really in.
I actually think the Texans would be better than. I don't know. Both those teams are going to be.
I like the weapons more than the Panthers. I think they feel better than the Texans.
You're a Nico hater though, so that makes sense.
I've drafted Nico the last 2 years. It doesn't mean I hate the guy. I hate him at pick 90. That's where he's going now.
That's fair.
Let's see.
Come on, Crixus. Do something we don't like.
Do something we don't like.
I kind of like Bateman, but I wasn't grabbing him here.
Khalil. I thought about taking him.
Bring in the buddies. Let's get the guys in the door.
Jesus.
So every draft.
It just falls into me, and I just get my exposure.
I wonder why it falls into you every time in every draft.
It just falls on me, and I'm scooping them up. That's what it is. You can't call them my guys if I don't grab them. Then they're just somebody else's guys. Go ahead, play another one. Let's go.
Yeah, I will when Rob makes his pick. Yeah. Oh, he did it again. Davis drafts another old.
I don't know. I just like them older.
I love that one.
Amazing.
I was wanting B-Rob. I'll settle for Charbonnet. Kind of a modified anchor build going here with Sanders. I got him, 9 picks after ADP in week 17 stack with Jacksonville. So I'll take that.
Just so you guys know, Michael Thomas is lined up against safeties right now, and he's crushing it. So I'm going to be so set when he gets all the linebacker coverages.
I mean, he's going to crush week 1 through 3 until he gets hurt again.
As long as I collect my Tony bet, I'm good to go.
I just can't do the Michael Thomas click. I have 0% Michael Thomas.
0?
God. 0. Who was I arguing with about this the other day? Someone else I was arguing with about this.
Can't be many guys. There's like 2 of us. There's like 2 people like on this planet that believe in
they show up to the meetings. It's just Davis and Liam. Liam's in there.
It's probably just me and Michael Thomas in the room. I'm like, hey, Mike, I'm really into you, man. He's like, yeah, I'm like lukewarm on myself right now.
The funny thing is, though, I do like the Saints a lot this year. So
talking about overreacting to preseason, but I don't know if anyone watched their first drive as an offense with the ones. They just took it right down the field on Kansas City's first defense and scored. It was nice.
My number 2 quarterback exposure is number 1. It's Derek Carr. No, it's number 2. Number 2. Derek Carr is my number 1 in big board.
Who's your number 1 overall? Or
It's
BBM?
Russ. It's Russ.
Mine's Daniel Jones.
I do have a decent amount of Russ. It's too easy. The Broncos are too easy just to get everything.
It's like the flip side of the Chargers situation where everyone's like really in on this, and then you have the others who are like, well, you know what? Like this is on that game too. Like it's kind of like that argument. And like Russ just happened to turn it up at the end of the season, so it gives us a little bit of hope.
Sean Payton coming in, hopefully he can turn it around and actually do something with that offense after
More weapons.
More weapons.
2
Marvin
injuries
Mims.
already though. They already had the same 2 injuries from last year.
I
Tim
definitely
Patrick
think
and
they're in for a good bounce back for sure.
I think they'll be okay. Like I'm not expecting greatness. I'm just expecting competence, I guess, is this year.
Yeah.
So to Davis's point, getting some of them and mixing them in with Chargers and stuff like that just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, and also just like Carr. I've always felt like Carr was a good quarterback. And people forget like how bad like the coaching is in the Raiders. Like they gotta remember, this is the same guy who got fired last time as a head coach. You know, like he's not a good head coach over there. Yeah, he's just not the guy.
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, he's just not a good coach. And Carr took a lot of heat for it. And people forget, like, I always call him Carr the contract maker. He's made so many contracts for like irrelevant players. So I don't know. I just feel like he has a good, steady set of weapons and a decent O-line. It should be fine.
Yeah, I got into a small argument with the other Davis about because I'm fading Devontae Adams because I just think that the Raiders are going to be a shit show this year too. And he's like, because I don't like Jimmy G. I think he's terrible. I think he got masked up real hard. If you actually watched 49ers games, he was terrible and was the luckiest quarterback I've ever seen in my life in terms of like turnover stuff.
Did you ever see him and like Brock Purdy? They compared like the passes that they have and how they're so close to each other. Of like, wow, that should have been a pick, but it's not, or it bounced off of somebody for touchdowns. Like him and Purdy are very similar, and it actually makes me laugh. I'm like, I don't think I want any of that. Like either of those two guys for that. It just scares me.
It's so gross. He's so bad.
I've been on your side of the Derek Carr's clearly better than Jimmy G.
It's not.
If you watch the games,
it's not a comparison. Like you can throw all the stats you want at me for Jimmy G. Like he was in a Shanahan offense. If you put Derek Carr,
like the best weapons in the league.
Put Derek Carr in the Shanahan offense. He'll blow Jimmy Garoppolo's numbers out the water.
We need some upside at RB here. I'm taking Penny.
Jimmy G's ADOT's like absolutely gross. And Derek Carr can actually throw the ball further than like 12 yards. I don't know. And I think of the weapons, man. Like, like the weapons that he plays with aren't even like competitive on their teams today. Like you had Nelson Aguilar. You had Tyrell Williams get a contract because he played with Derek Carr.
Tyrell Williams
got a
contract. He got the bag
contract
from the Chargers, right? Was it the Chargers or did he go?
He went to the Raiders for a year, did well, and then he got signed to the Lions.
Okay.
Like just the list of guys that Derek Carr has ever had to play with is just like hilarious, and he's just gotten through his career with them. This is a rough one.
Yeah, I think the Saints, and I mean, you get to play in the NFC South, so that is a boost. That's why I love the Jags and the Saints this year. I think Carr's up there, maybe my third highest exposed QB with Daniel Jones number 1.
Let's do some reaching. I like the Jags a lot this year as well, but I was grabbing a ton of them when BBM opened. I don't get nearly the exposure to Jags as I used to. Obviously, Calvin Ridley moving up to the second round is sticker shock now for me still. He's getting so expensive. Kirk's in a mix of range where there's a lot of guys I like around him, and I don't even dislike Kirk, but I like all the guys around him just a little bit more.
Yeah.
I like Trevor Lawrence, but I'm already behind the 8 ball because usually I don't have Ridley now. I don't have Christian Kirk. When do I draft Trevor Lawrence? It's to backstack him with Evan Ingram and Zay Jones. So you can only do that so many times.
Yeah.
So it's
that
gotten tough.
I've been fine still I mean, at the 2-3 turn, I prefer, if I can push Ridley to the third. But I'm still in. I'm just in on the Jags this year, so I don't mind clicking it there. I know I'm losing, around the ADP value, but I think I'm getting some new combos with him in that range as well.
Yeah.
I'm at like 15% Ridley.
I got to start mixing him in a bit more again. I had a lot of Ridley when the tournament started. I'll actually try to pull up and see what I
It
get.
was like round 4, round 5. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
so
you could
good.
definitely get him around 40, around pick 40. And then the weird stuff, and I don't think it's like signal, but Christian Kirk not playing in the 2 wide receiver sets in their preseason game. I don't know. Did you guys take anything away from that? You think it's just small sample size? They're going to be running a lot of 3 wide receiver sets anyway, so it's not going to matter. But did that, make you perk up at all when you saw that?
No, it didn't bother me at all. I mean, it's the first game. We'll see what they do these next 2. I just think, like I said, I like Christian Kirk. It's just tough around where he's going, but I'm not worried about him in the aspect of he's not going to be on the field. I have 10% Calvin Ridley right now, which is
I
still
think that's a fair amount.
pretty good.
It's a good amount.
Yeah, you're above the field.
So I'm fine with that. With 23 drafts left.
The 2 receiver setting didn't bother me at all. I feel like if I was a coach and I needed to see what I got, I would put Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones out there more so than Kirk. Like Kirk has already kind of proven himself as a commodity. He has the money backing him. He's just obviously, and he's been a wide receiver 2 in the past as a Cardinal, so you already know what he can do. But I think you're questioning what Ridley can do, and you're questioning like what Zay can do. You need the reps for those guys. And I know people think like Zay was like this deep threat guy, but his overall like yards per reception was actually kind of low still. It wasn't like 13, 14 where like Corey, it was like 10, I think 10 point something. So it wasn't ridiculously high. So I just think you have to see what Ridley can do. And I don't know. And then the minute they went to a red zone, they were like, oh, let's get Kirk in. Like it was like immediate. Let's just get him in. It doesn't sweat me at all.
This, I totally disagree with this, with their week
Same.
17 thing being a snooze fest. A team can just blow out another team and score 35 points in the first half or in the first 3 quarters and then rest the starters. But also the Panthers defense is actually the strength of their team. They're projected to have a pretty solid defense this year. And so I'm not too worried about that narrative at all, to be honest.
The only thing I'm concerned about is just JC Horn just really missing a ton of games per season. But yeah, that defense is stout, dude. Like
that'd be great for Calvin Ridley if they didn't have to.
That's exactly what happened last year. Right? JC Horn got hurt, and they played another random person, and then the Tampa went off on him.
Yeah, we made a lot of money in DFS that day, playing Evans and DJ Moore.
Yes. All right, what are we gonna do here? Didn't get my Jalen Warren. And again, the only preseason signal that matters, as we know, is Jalen Warren out snapping Najee with the starters. That is the signal that we can take away that as fact.
You didn't see what that Tomlin said? He said that Najee's
I don't
old.
want any of these players.
He said Najee's old. That's why he had to put him down.
Couldn't even get MVS to fall back to me at the end of the 12th round. Savages. Just absolute savages in this draft.
If Raiders suck, odds Devontae Adams is traded to the Jets. I don't know. I don't know the cap minutia on that potential move. I know things end up working out. But you guys have any thoughts? Not even just to the Jets, but any chance Devontae Adams fights his way out of Vegas this year? Any if they're awful?
They have to get a good offer, I think. Like they have to get a good offer because they're not going to just let teams win. They're not going to get him go for like a third or a fourth.
No,
it doesn't make any sense.
I just don't know the cap minutia on how tradable he is this year.
Sorry, who are you talking about? I was looking at this pile of trash in front of me.
Yeah, it's not great. If the Raiders suck, any chance he said Devontae to the Jets for the Rodgers stuff, but any chance he's traded this season?
I doubt it.
It's a good question for you, Rob, since you're on the Devontae fade. Are you worried about a trade back to Aaron Rodgers for Devontae
That would
Adams?
be my only concern, right? Like for missing out on Devontae Adams if he is traded. But even though the Jets are going to try to win it now, barring an injury to Garrett Wilson, are they going to trade for that Devontae Adams contract? And if they are, what are they going to trade for him? Nobody wins in the trade, right? Like
No.
that's a problem. So you're giving nothing up. You either are just unloading a contract if you're the Raiders, which is the second year of it, so you're admitting failure immediately. Like that was just a bad signing to begin with.
Right.
Or you're unloading money to load up for the future, but you haven't built your team for the future. Like they just put themselves in the worst purgatory that they could put themselves in. They should trade him, but again, they're going to get nothing for him. So
yeah. We also have to think about the cap too. Like if that's even doable, what would the Jets give? Like if you're the Jets,
I mean, it has to be like 2 firsts or something. I mean, I think it'd be picks.
There's
It'd
no
be
way
first.
in hell.
No
There's
way.
0% chance.
Yeah.
No.
They'd be lucky to get a 3rd round pick.
You think? With the
because
contract?
of the contract.
That's fair.
Because of the contract, and you have Rodgers on rent for 2 years. You know, like it just seems off. Like you might get a second if you think if the Jets for sure thought they were going to win it all, you might get a second. Because that's
even I feel like in the NFL too, we see more of like high profile trades happen in the off season, not in season as well.
They've ramped it up the last few years a little bit, but to your point, it is usually in the off season. The only other thing they could do is maybe some sort of escalator pick based on player or team performance or something. And I don't even know how often that happens in the NFL anymore, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, I'm scared to death if he does get traded.
Yeah,
it sucks. It's like it's like you might as well throw all my teams away for the most part, right? Like it just
even if you got traded to the Jets, I mean, there's still Garrett Wilson there. I think that honestly would be one of your best case scenarios because him and Garrett Wilson just eat into each other. And I don't know how much Garrett Wilson you have, but that might be your best case actually.
Yeah, well, you just know that if he does go there, it becomes locked on city.
Oh, the 1 yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
My Lazard season, no.
Yeah, Davis is 20% out.
I don't think I have that much. I have like 10, I think.
That's fair. I know.
It's about 10%.
Of Lazard?
Yeah.
This person's asked this question twice. Is this a redraft question? I'm not sure. I have to choose.
Feels like a redraft. It feels like a keeper question where
for a first, or I honestly don't have any experience making this type of decision.
It's a full point PPR. CMC. I mean, CMC is already a first round pick, right? So I would say that it's going to be CMC because you're guaranteeing yourself a top 5 pick and you don't know which position you're going to get on the draft board.
You're getting Christian Watson at 12th round, though. Like that's a really good. That's
a great value. It's a great value, but you're getting a guaranteed top 5 pick from the first round, and you're giving up a first round pick.
In those type of leagues, so you then have to give up your first. Is that how that works in those type of leagues?
Yeah, basically.
So like whichever one he chooses, he loses his first or his 12th.
Yeah, first or his 12th.
Okay, that makes sense.
I do like Christian Watson in the 12th though. It might be Christian Watson.
Yeah, that's.
It's just you got to remember who everyone's keeping. All the other big names are going to be kept.
It depends on who's keeping what. Christian Watson in the 12th, and it's also full PPR. Like if this was like standard or half, I'd probably swing fully. But if you're talking about full PPR, there's a lot of these guys that catch up because they catch like
Chase Jefferson are off the board. Those guys are going to keep those players for their teams.
Justin's going to be kept too. Yeah, Jason, Justin, Tyreek is probably going to be kept at his, but he's going to be at second round. Who was the first round from last year?
No, he might get escalated to a first round though, because a lot of them are escalators. Yes.
I would say Watson. I would keep the Watson. I'm okay like dumping a first because I feel like you can make your value somewhere else. It's hard to make value back.
Interesting.
But it's barely. I can see the argument for just like get the top 2 running back though. Like that's totally fine.
Makes total sense. Yeah, I have not played in a keeper league like that. My only redraft is just standard redraft with my home league every year.
See, I also would take CMC because you're playing CMC every week. Christian Watson is I like Christian Watson, but he's way tougher in redraft leagues.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. That's what I was thinking too. Like we feel like, oh, he's that locked in wide receiver on the Packers, but really in a redraft scenario, I mean, he'd be your flex, right, at that point.
Yeah, he's tough in redraft.
Depends on how many.
He's going to drive you insane, like trying to trying to put him in your lineup. And then, I mean, again, you've only given up a 12th rounder. To me, it's CMC, because CMC, no matter what, until as long as he doesn't get hurt, you're playing CMC every week, no matter what. So that is a locked in spot for your team.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Unless is it a best ball each week?
Well, if it's a best ball, it's probably Christian Watson.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to talk my friends into doing that this year. Like, we still make our waiver moves and we still can make trades, but then it's just best ball each week instead. I think that'd be a fun way.
Those are fun. Those are really fun. That and best ball dynasty is really fun too.
Yeah. My home league's been around for 15 years and I'm the commissioner. And after this year, I usually do a voting system, but we might go full dictatorship and reorganize this league at the end of the year.
I like it.
Debating on it. But it's fun. We do weekly payouts. It's
That's what we're thinking about doing this year. We hadn't do it last year, but doing weekly payouts.
It helps keep the league engaged because we do it for the highest scorer every week through the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it makes it so that everyone is still playing on a week by week basis because they're still trying to recoup. It's a $50 a week payout. It's a $205 buy-in.
Okay.
And it just, it's a little thing. Like I said, it's been around for 15 years. And that's kind of the way that we do it.
I like that.
But that's the only redraft league I'm in now. I have 8,000 best ball teams, so there's no need to.
It's tough, and I feel bad because I have been that person. Because ours is not that high of stakes, and so I've not set my lineup, like all that type of stuff. Even though I did go undefeated last year. I kind of felt bad. I just had every good player. I had Hurts and AJ Brown and Kelsey and Amon-Ra, and it's a 10-team league, so
just running people over.
It was Ramondre. Like, I had all the guys I've been picking in best ball. Some are doing like hundreds of drafts.
But it's a lose-lose situation because if you win, it's like all they're going to say is, yeah, but all you do is draft teams all summer.
Yeah.
And then when you lose, you get it double as bad. Like the shit talk. It's like, I thought you drafted all these teams all year.
I thought you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And technically, actually, let me rephrase. I technically lost the championship because whoever set the league up this year made it week 18 championship instead of week 17. So I was undefeated through week 17, and then I lost. It was like, I don't know. It's fun, though. I still like having a couple of those each year.
Then when you lose, you tell them that how week 18 doesn't matter. Like, it's still football.
Oh, trust me. I told them.
It counts in regular season.
Keep watching.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Actually, NFL decides a lot of playoff games based on that. I'm just kidding. I'm sure as a friend, but that's always one of those things I always like. I used to see these a lot in these drafts. I always be in. Everyone's like, would make an argument the minute they start winning. It's always an argument that comes up.
It's like listening to. I know it's not 1-for-1 correlation, but do you guys ever like get in your car and listen to like local sports radio now, and you're just like, this is the worst shit I've ever heard in my life? Like listening to them talk about Zeke around here.
Oh,
I turn it off immediately because everyone thinks that they're getting 2017 or 2018 Zeke.
They always pull up the stats. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler.
Oh yeah,
he's 37, but he's a 5-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time All Pro. It's like so bad.
I know.
Bonkers.
Yeah, it is crazy because I'm almost now like exclusively podcast listener. But I do like turning it on. Yeah, it is fun seeing like some of the stuff they'll say. Like, I heard one the other day. They were just talking about how Dalvin Cook, like they're just completely dismissing Breece Hall, like acting like coming off an ACL. I mean, you're just like done. And they're like, oh, they got locked in starter Dalvin Cook, and all this stuff, like just hyping it up.
You should see the 49er fans out here. It's always like they're always fighting about the quarterback. Like a couple of years ago, it was Alex Smith versus like Cap. Then it was Cap versus like nobody. Then it was Trey Lance versus Jimmy G. Now it's Trey Lance versus like it's the funniest thing ever. I love it. I love watching the 49er fans fight about quarterbacks every year. And none of them watch football, but they just want to say something.
Yeah, I love having the ancillary football conversations in August with people that that are just now gearing up for it. And you've just, I don't remember which movie it was. It might have been Band of Brothers, but it really feels like come August, September, when we have all these new drafters coming in and stuff. There was this scene in this war movie where all the vets of the war were coming out and they're dirty and they're just like, their soul is crushed and they're just like so downtrodden. And all the new soldiers are walking in. They're just all so excited to go to war. And we're just like, we've been here too long. You don't know what you're dealing with anymore.
Oh man, I've heard
February.
Yeah, for sure. I thought of something the other day where I was just like, I was talking with one of my other friends about, I can't remember what player it is, like 17th, 18th round guy. And they like didn't know who they were. And it's like, man, I've had an opinion on that player since February. And like whether I wanted to draft him or not, what their situation was. And it's like, this person never even heard of him. It hit me last year too. Like during the draft, I picked Ramondre Stevenson, and someone in the quick chat typed, "Who is that?" like, who did you just draft? It's funny.
I do that stuff so I run Fiverr for redraft leagues. People will hire me to like be their person to help them. And I've taken like every single one of them to the finals. And I think one guy's won back to back, I guess like his work league, and he hired me for his third year straight. And something he'll be like, "You heard about this guy called like Damian Pierce?" And it was like last year when he was like getting juiced up. I was like, "Yes, I know who Damian Pierce is. And no, you will not draft him." Like I was like, "Don't draft him." And he messaged me like afterwards, like, "Oh my god, like you called that AJ Brown pick, man. That was great." I was like, it's just like really random things like that. Like, you heard of Damian Pierce? Like,
Jimmy G in the 17th here. They have Kenny Pickett, Gino. I guess 3 QB.
I had like Tyler
why
Algier.
did they take Jimmy?
Oh, I had Tyler Algier on all the redraft teams, and everyone was like, "Who the hell is Tyler Algier?" I was like, "No, don't you worry, guys. Give it like 12 weeks. Him and McKinnon are gonna get you there. Like, give it 12 weeks."
The Deuce Vaughn juice is coming in even hotter after today.
I love Deuce.
Have you guys been taking any shots on the backup Cowboys running backs?
Yeah, I've been taking Malik Davis. I did not like the report that came out today.
No, I did not. That's what I was asking. I've been mixing in Malik Davis because, like, I mean, they've always I love Tony Pollard. I think he's going to smash this year.
Yeah.
But they have always not given him the full workload with Zeke there, and I think they'll still want to do some of that. Yeah. And I've been betting on Malik, and that report today from there's I don't know. Did you see it?
No.
I think the Cowboys athletic beat reporter projected him to not make the team. That it was going to be Pollard, Rico Dowdle, and Deuce Vaughn as the running backs. So didn't love that.
I fell to the floor. I was like, no.
I know, and I think in BBM specifically, which is the one I care the most about my exposures in. I think I've only taken him 4 or 5 times, but still, I hate the roster spots.
A couple of Maliks recently because I was like, hey, you know what? I need to add somebody that is different than like Mason and Kelly. And I've been pumping in Kyron Williams here too on my non-Acre teams, or even on my Acre teams, and like whatever. If Akers is just injury prone, like I'll just take a hit on my 6 RB. So I've been adding Malik Davis a couple of times. Not a lot, but enough for me to go, damn, like that's like a couple dollar shots that I'm gonna lose on. Sucks.
I only have 3 BBM teams with Malik Davis on it, but if you go over to DraftKings, I know I have a lot more over there drafting him in the 9.
Luckily, you can take the hit. Looks like I have 2% Malik and BBM.
Yeah,
it's not too bad.
And that report might not pan out.
Exactly.
It's still a preseason report, but it still catches you. Just like
it does.
You just have to put your hand down and just like catch your breath for a second. You're like, oh no. Not like this.
I know, because I too, like, a lot of the work this offseason, some from Leone on like the dead roster spots, I do think it's pretty important.
It is
an important factor, and so you don't want to lose anyone. I mean, the Traylon Burks thing, I think we all were panicking. I don't know, what's your Traylon Burks, Rob? I bet it's low.
Why would you think that I have low Traylon Burks exposure? Does he not seem like a Rob guy?
No, I just know you like to fade really bad offenses or offenses they think you're really bad. So I'm guessing you're low on him.
I have 2% Traylon Burks.
Fair enough.
And BBM. Yeah, I like that's another guy. Again, good call. I don't like the Tennessee offense. I like all the guys around him quite a bit more, and he's just the guy that gets faded because of it.
Do you like the Texans offense?
No, but
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, we're good. Logging off. I'll see you guys later.
He said but.
I'm just kidding.
I do grab a decent amount of Devin Singletary just because of where he goes in drafts, and
Yeah,
I think he has a decent amount of contingent value, and I think he works for almost every build that you put together. To be honest,
Yeah. I meant more of just the wide receiver. I think running backs can get a pass on bad
I
offenses,
actually like Damian Pierce
but I think
because of their offensive line.
wide receivers can't.
in honor of David Kitchen, who I did a draft with earlier today, I have to draft this stud.
CEH. How many Chiefs did you end up with? You're like, all right, let me pull that one back up.
I decided to
Just for-
let the preseason soak through me.
Who'd you take here?
You're gonna laugh. Let the
Cedric
preseason
Tillman?
come through. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that
Oh,
stack.
look at that week 17, Corey Davis and Cedric Tillman. I'm sure that's the stack you need.
You know what? I could think of worse things. All right.
All right. Let's break down our teams here and then we'll sign off. So I did a Jag stack here with Trevor, with Ridley, and with Zay. And then of course I did my Derek Carr as well with just Jawan on this team. I've got a lead tight end in Mark Andrews, who I love this year. Receivers, Cup, Ridley, Judy, JSN. Did take Traylon. Love this new ADP. Zay, Marvin Mims, and my first year of Michael Wilson. Well, no, this is my BVM exposure. So, and then running back was kind of a modified anchor with Miles Sanders. It goes with that week 17 with Jacksonville. Charbonnet, Penny, Mostert. Now that we've got the Dolphins situation not cleared up, but at least no Dalvin Cook. And then Jerome Ford and preseason stud Ty Chandler. So
I still think about the pick 216 Jeff Wilson's I was getting at one point, like, and how happy I am. Even if it flops, I just feel better about it. Like, I can at least say it made sense, you know. So same thing for Mostert. I was getting him super late too.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like this team. It's a pretty standard build for me, kind of a modified anchor. I do like now getting the Pierce, the Sanders range, Montgomery as my first RB because they're guys, well, maybe not Montgomery, that would be going third, fourth round 2-3 years ago, and now you're getting them in this, 6th, 7th. So
yeah,
I'm mixing them in, just kind of like a floor play at running back. Davis, we'll take a look at yours.
All I'm gonna do is get yelled at. So I took Burrow, Rodgers. I didn't notice Lazard was off the board already, so I was like, whatever. I just still went with it. I'll just take the 0 for that week. RBs kind of went to me in a little bit of value for the ETN. Like I said, I like ETN if he's at round 5. I'm totally fine with him there. So ETN, Connor, Dylan, Devin, Jeff, Chuba, a lot of these like ancillary guys that could be useful. So I didn't spend a lot at RB. Wide receivers, I just took all the upside guys first. You got Justin, you got Higgins, you got Watson. I did want to play like a quick joke about making sure that I had correlation for my Justin Jefferson again. So I have Higgins and Laporta, I think, on this one. And then I have Christian Watson. So I took a lot of deep shot guys and just random correlation. It's a puppy. I'm going to go for it.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. You spent a lot of – well, you did get the fall on Njoku.
I was just going to ask about tight end for you because you took Goddard, which – I don't know if I personally would have made that particular pick in this spot
just
after getting a quarterback.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get the correlation. But then is Goddard still a 3 tight end build for you typically within
anybody from Hawkinson down is a 3 tight end build. Even Andrews to an extent if I can get good value. I just think that Kelsey's the only single tight end. I think all those tight ends have like when I did the numbers for like Andrews and everybody, they all had like a 50+% miss rate. Like it was just so bad for everyone that wasn't Kelsey. They just have huge miss rates.
That's fair. It still just seems like a lot of capital with Njoku and Laporta and Goddard. But
yeah, if I was doing Goddard and a 3 tight end, I'd probably just do like Goddard, Conklin, Henry, like Hunter Henry, like 17th, 18th. But I do take 3 with like Kittle and Pitts. I think it makes a lot of sense with them because
I think the Laporta pick is excessive. But because I do believe if I take 2 middle guys, I think I'm set. I could play that off. At that point, I was just like, well, what else can I really grab? I really like my receivers are just hard to beat, and grabbing a third quarterback would have just been weird. So I just kind of went with that. Fair enough. No, you guys are right. Though. I do agree that I think the third tight end is a little excessive when I grab 2 middles.
Yeah. It's just,
Gotcha.
like that roster spin stuff.
I also like doing different things like that occasionally too. Like it's Goddard and Njoku, Laporta are probably not a standard combination of 3 tight ends. So I don't hate doing it, especially around this range, because this range is so freaking gross for wide receivers and stuff and running backs. Hell, we got Zeke coming up to the 12th and 11th round now, which
Yeah.
is startling. We can.
So gross.
All right. So my team is Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Kenneth Walker, Khalil Herbert, Brian Robinson, Tank Bigsby, Kareem Hunt, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jamar Chase, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, Rondell Moore, Jalen Hyatt, Richie James, Kyle Pitts, Cole Kmet. So double stack of wide receivers with Patrick Mahomes, along with Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Jamar Chase bring back. I also have a Brian Robinson and Brock Purdy, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, week 17 stack. And then the final one is a weird Cole Kmet, Kyle Pitts, double tight end in one game
Hey,
stack,
one
which
can
I
go
don't
in the
love.
flex.
Yeah, and I got Khalil Herbert from that game as well. Is it my favorite team? No. Is it going to be a single bullet that wins the Puppy 3? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is what we're doing.
What's the are you mixing Kareem Hunt in, or just do it on this random puppy? And see someone you're taking?
Kareem Hunt's a guy that I've been mixing in a little more lately because I just think he's probably the next guy off the board from the free agents that ends up somewhere. So my exposure is low. It's like 4%, 5%, but I think he's fine to kind of mix in late because we're starting to, again, we see the Zekes and the Dalvin Cooks, and it's starting to push up all the other running backs. So I think Kareem Hunt's going to sign somewhere soon.
He's got what, 2 or 3 visits on his belt already, so like there is some
Yeah.
interest. Just curious why he hasn't been signed yet. It could be any reason though. Who knows? We're not.
It's going to be money. I guarantee it's all money with all of them. That's why Dalvin Cook kind of made the rounds. Zeke made the rounds. Fournette's making the rounds. Nobody wants to pay any of them. They're trying to get as much money as they possibly can get. Like you said, Kareem Hunt's been to the Saints, the Colts, and the Vikings, I believe. So he will end up signing somewhere. It's just.
I
If he
like
ends up
that.
as a Chief, do you think people are just going to go freaking bananas if he ends up on a Chief somehow?
I don't know if they're going to do that.
I think that for reasons that they got rid of him, they'll never bring him back because it just looks like a political nightmare for them. And it's the only team that looks like that for, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really make
Sean
sense,
McCoy
right?
and Le'Veon Bell, who randomly ended up back with like Andy Reid. It was just one of those random situations. But I feel like Andy Reid's been burned enough that he's not going to make that mistake again.
No, he won't get someone unless he has to.
And I get it. Like these running backs, they will rise, even though if they should or shouldn't. And like I'll say, like I checked my BBM exposure once Zeke signed, and I randomly had 3 shares in BBM, and I know for a fact that was not something I was targeting. So if I took him, it would have been like 18th round, like fallen. So I don't know. I don't even think it's the worst. Like I do think he'll score some goal line touchdowns and maybe get me a few usable weeks. I'm definitely not going to take him anymore. But the fact that I ended up with like 3 random Zeke shares, I don't think is the worst. I didn't actually even check to see if they're on Ramondre teams or not. I need to check that. But
Gerardo wants us some sauce, and then Scampers actually makes a funny point about the Panthers. Like he could. It would be gross, but it's very plausible.
my like 20% Chuba Hubbard would not like that.
No,
Let's see what Gerardo's got
I'd be so dead
for us. Is Gerardo the person who last week had Jarrett Stidham?
No, maybe no.
That
Maybe somebody else.
All right, let's take a look. We got Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff here at quarterback. Running backs: Damian Pierce, Isaiah Pacheco, P. Ryan, Gainwell, Tajay, Deontay Foreman, and Leonard Fournette. I think it's a pretty solid RB room. I probably would have stopped at 6 on this one, just with the 2 like decent investments.
The Stidham one. Yeah, my bad.
You were at the Stidham. And then so I kind of like this RB room. I think it makes sense. I might have stopped at 6 though. What do you guys think on the RBs on this one?
None of these RBs are the ones I take, short of maybe Foreman and Pierce. I can't really get behind P. Ryan too hard these days. Gainwell, same thing. Pacheco.
I think P. Ryan's fine.
I think all these guys are being pushed up. Yeah, P. Ryan's value is like fine, but I just don't get him a ton. Gainwell's been pushed up a lot. Tajay, like he's a preseason guy right now, so he's being pushed up. He also drafted him 2 rounds early. He's not even like generally getting drafted early either way. So I don't know. It's just
I like Tajay though. I think he did look really good in that preseason game. And then at some point, like Derek Henry, I know is the indestructible guy, even though we've seen him get hurt now a little bit the past couple of years. So I like Tajay a lot.
I think I feel better if this team ends up with like Chuba and like Gus more so than like Leonard Fournette. I don't know. I feel like the reach on Tajay is interesting.
I think it's actually a pretty fun running back room, and the aspect of it's not really fun because all of these guys make me vomit. But if you're gonna have a bunch of vomit running backs, Damian Pierce and Pacheco and P. Ryan to that extent can get you early production, keep you in line to actually advance out of the first round of the tournament. Gainwell has contingent value as well as some standalone value. Donta Foreman, kind of the same thing. Tajay Spears is a great contingent back, and Leonard Fournette is a great contingent back. So it kind of mixes up enough where you got some standalone value from guys that you need early, but you also have guys that can come in and actually boost this running back room if certain things break certain ways. Do I love them individually? No, but like as a group, it seems okay. But I
like that it is 7. I actually don't think smacking back on an RB helps here. I think you have to go like 7.
It just depends on what you think of Pacheco. And I mean, I don't have that much Pacheco, but I don't know. What have you been doing with Pacheco since you have so much Mahomes? Are you adding him to the Mahomes builds, or you not that interested?
No, I think I have 0%, or it's close to 0%. It's 1%. I have one Isaiah Pacheco team in BBM.
Makes sense.
His wide receiver room's pretty good.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Deontay, Quentin, and Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, big fan of all these. He's got the golf stack here with Amon-Ra. Big fan of this team.
So 6 receivers?
6.
Yeah,
I might have done the 7th. He did 3 tight ends with Hawkinson.
It's 8 running back. I thought it was 7. Oh yeah, it's now excessive.
No, it's 7.
Oh, 2, 7, 6, 3. Oh, never mind. I'm reading that wrong. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, I think I would have also probably not done one of the tight ends and went with a 7th wide receiver. I don't think it's quite strong enough to just do 6. Yeah. I think it's close, but I don't think it's right there. It's right there.
If Shaheed was, if he was your next pick instead of Pierce, maybe. Or not your next one, but makes sense though.
Agree. No, it's a fun team though. I mean, it's a puppy. Got to get a little creative. Deontay Johnson's another guy I'm not drafting on Underdog, but I'm drafting on other sites just based on the player profile. He just makes so much more sense on the other sites.
Yeah, and you can probably get him later too.
Later.
At ADP, do you feel better with Kirk, Deontay Johnson, or Ayuk in UD?
On UD?
They're literally just like right next to each other.
I might actually be Deontay on that just because target share.
No, because I'd want a blow up game. So I think like in terms of that, it's probably Ayuk, Kirk, Deontay Johnson for me.
Also, Ayuk's contingency value. I mean, if Devo goes down, Ayuk is going to be a top 10 wide receiver. Right. He's so good.
I do think the week 17 for the Steelers is a little overlooked. You got to think about how bad that secondary is right now for the Steelers. Like they got cooked a lot last year, and the guys they add did not help. Like they're all getting cooked.
Steelers or the Seahawks?
Steelers secondary. So like I feel like they're going to be pushed into a shootout because the secondary is so bad. Like,
you put me on a loop there. I was like, Deontay,
no, like
he's not practicing in week 17.
The Jets are going to go out there and the Seahawks are going to go out there and just probably crap all over like Porter and like Patrick Peterson. He's 45.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's going to be a shootout. I like that game a lot in week 17, and I'm kind of into the Steelers this year.
And for all we know, the Commanders just grind it out, right? Like Commanders and 49ers could just be a run first game, and we just end the game.
That could be a boring game.
Definitely a thing I am scared to death of happening in week 17 is that game just being the worst game on the slate.
Yeah,
it's definitely a possibility, but. Rob, thanks for hanging out with us. This was fun, impromptu. Really appreciate you coming on.
Ton of fun. We'll have to do this again with the 3 of us on Spike Week in the next week or 2. We'll figure something out, and you guys can jump on and hang out with me over there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything you want to plug? I know. Yeah. Obviously, Spike Week guys, Tool, everything.
Well, tomorrow night, Eric Beimfor and myself will be streaming a shot stream where we take shots while we draft. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the hot dog eating contest that we did or the hot wings contest, but neither of those ended well. So
Yeah.
if you're into drafts that aren't going to end well for myself or Eric Beimfor, then tomorrow night is going to be the draft for you. I am not a big drinker to begin with. I drink like 10 times a year. So right now I'm leaning towards we do a shot every time we draft a wide receiver and a couple other prompts. And it's probably going to be ugly. I'm probably not going to like it.
Right.
And Saturday is going to be a rough day. But
We got to game theory this out. You do 0 RB, you piss yellow, six wide receivers, and you're done.
Yeah,
I think that's the game plan.
get all the shots in right away. But I want to do some little bonus things. I want to make it so that if you draft certain players, you have to do a shot as well. For myself and Beimfor, but we'll figure it out. We'll at least do the receiver thing.
What's like beer goggles for like NFL players? Like, you know what? He maybe Najee isn't that slow.
Everyone you
draft,
everyone you draft, Davis, is who beer goggles
exactly.
are.
When I'm in the finals again, I'll be back. I'll just tell you guys, I'm gonna come and do my lap back around. But like, I could see what beer goggles players be like. You know what? I'm not out on Aaron Jones anymore. Like he does catch passes. It's just like really gross.
Yeah, for sure.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Throw a like, throw a subscribe if you don't mind. And we will see you next time. Peace.